Press record.
Did it.
All right. CultPop Podcast is live now. We're doing it. Doing it live.
All the things told me that we're live. Are we live?
Yeah. I mean, technology does not lie, Noel. Let's see. Let's start this show.
Finger guns.
Okay, first note. JD, plug in your headphones so you don't record the other guests, you idiot. All right, did that. Great. What's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning into the CultPop Podcast live stream. I'm your host, Johnny Destructo, owner of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex at 4327 Main Street in Manayunk, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, United States, Earth. With me this week is football enthusiast Noel Bartocci. Noel, tell the people something.
Bear down, Chicago Bears. Have a great day, everyone.
Also, Len, who eats tuna fish and Ritz crackers twice every week. Tell the people something.
What's up? Holla at your boys, Len the Bat Tribble.
We are here to discuss this past week's new comic book releases, but first, we got a correspondence.
Correspondence from people who watch us.
Or listen.
Done. All right. So, and actually, this came in at about 3 minutes ago from Christopher St. Saucy Goodnight.
I mean, I've never heard of this person before.
The letters section from the show, and then last second Hail Mary, Christopher St. Saucy Goodnight says, Hawkman answers. I'm reading it from my phone. Since you have some questions about Hawkman, I have some answers, kind of, sorta. The recent series attempted to reconcile all of the past versions and origins of Hawkman, which never made much sense. Basically, all of them are real. Hawkman was a former Deathbringer, a member of winged tyrants who butchered innocents. Hawkman rebelled against his people and was granted immortality and the chance to make up for all the deaths he caused, but unfortunately, it was a lot of deaths. So he has been at it for a while, and anytime he is killed in the process, he reincarnates somewhere else. There have been versions of him on Krypton, Ron, Thanagar, Ancient Egypt, the Microverse, etc. In the recent issue, it was revealed that Hawkgirl made a deal with the god that brought Hawkman back and tied her fate to his. After their most recent triumph, they basically had paid for his sins and were given the chance to give up their fight, but since they weren't quite done, they were also given the opportunity for one last life, and they chose that with the Justice Society. I do believe the bad guy reveal at the end of last issue was his second-in-command or partner from when he was a Deathbringer. The best part of the series was easily the first 12 issues with Brian Hitch on the art, but I am sad to see it ending soon. Chris St. Saucy, good night. What an email. Well done. Those are all answers to questions that I had because we read the last issue last week, and there was a big reveal of a guy, and we went, cool. Hi, guy. Yeah. We don't know who you are because we had not read any of the previous issues. So thank you, Chris.
It seems as though Venditti is doing just like a not out of continuity, but just away from everything else. One long story about Hawkman. So maybe someday I'll read it all. Okay. Randy Green says, Dick is a scumbag. Sorry, Noel. I'm not contesting that. He's an old idiot. He is a scumbag. That's fine. Bear down, Chicago Bears.
Sport.
Yeah, that was like real aside.
Action Figure Expert says, hello. What's up going on? How you guys doing? People. Well, he actually typed PP. I'm assuming he means people. I don't know. I'm not going to kink shame him. Max says, good morning, my people. Action Figure Expert says, happy Batman Day. Yesterday. Happy day after Batman Day.
In honor of that, I actually finished reading Detective 1027 because it was a beast of a book.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little later. Anything before we get on to this week's books, gentlemen?
No.
Great. Stillwater #1 by Chip Zdarsky with art by Ramon Perez and Mike Spicer. Why are we laughing?
He just said, "Oh, great," under his breath because I know he loves horror comics, and we're going to see if he finished it or not.
Diamond has this to say about Stillwater #1. Nobody dies. In the town of Stillwater, that's not just a promise. It's a threat. Join superstar writer Chip Zdarsky and Eisner Award-winning artist Ramon K. Perez as they dive into a world of horror and intrigue in this new, ongoing, skybound series. I had no idea what to expect from this. I did not know it was a horror book. I did not know Chip Zdarsky wrote it. I could tell it was Ramon Perez from the artwork. But this was a vast departure for me with regard to what I expect from Chip Zdarsky. I expect a lot of humor. That's it. I expect mostly humor from Chip Zdarsky. So a horror book was a pleasant surprise. And this, again, not knowing it was a horror book was also a pleasant surprise because things start to go in a certain direction with the story and you start to go, I can't tell if this is going to get creepy or not. What kind of story is this? So by the time it wrapped up, I was thoroughly engaged. I can't wait for more of this. I think the first issue is chef's kiss, top notch, good jumping on point, obviously. Len, what did you think of Stillwater #1? You go first, because you look like you're chomping at the bit.
If you want to finish it, we'll wait.
No, what did you think of Stillwater #1?
I was excited about it because I did know that it was Chip Zdarsky doing horror, and yeah, even though he's done a lot of stuff other than horror, I still associate him also with sex criminals and Howard the Duck and kind of like wacky things, right? So I wanted to give it a shot, and I love Ramon Perez. So why not? I didn't know what the premise was. I just knew that it was a horror book. So I didn't have that kind of like surprise. The pacing was fantastic. The characterizations were great. And I say that they were great because I didn't like the main characters. That like shows you something. And I didn't like them, not because they did anything aggressive or terrible. They're not appealing. And when you kind of feel that kind of reaction towards a fictional character, it's just like, oh, they wrote them really well. Like, everything that happened in here, even when it got to the really creepy stuff, there was a genuinely shocking moment in here for me too. Like it was, and it happened when you're watching a movie, something like horrific happens in an instant, like it does in real life, and they don't give you more time to just process it. There's no swell of music. It's just like that happened, and you have to process it in a second. Something like that happened in this book, and it was just like really effective. I like this a lot. And the only caveat I have, or the only like hope I have, is that it doesn't go on forever. Yeah. I want a full story, not a 120 issue meander for 40 issues in the middle of it. Like if this is 12, 24 or something like that, awesome. But I want an ending.
So before we get to Len, I have a question for Len. So you're not a big horror fan, right? Now, is that a specific type of horror? Because I would say that this book it has a supernatural element in that the people in this town do not die and there is a murder.
Right.
But to me, so far, it's a thriller.
To me, actually, like to Noel's point, I didn't finish reading the book, but I'm sorry.
Wait,
JD,
but nothing scary happened. What made you put it down?
The kids in the roof.
No. It honestly wasn't a matter of something made me put it down. It was a matter of it turned to 10:30 and it was time to start the show.
Oh, thank you.
That's why I said. Oh,
did you save it for the end, like early this morning? Because it was like I don't want to. read a horror
No,
book?
honestly,
Or
no, it wasn't because I didn't want to read a horror book, because I did see that it was drawn by Ramon Perez, whose art JD has introduced me to, and I enjoy, and then kind of like flipping through it, because what I do is I go looking through all of the books first and then kind of like line them up, and it looked like a book that, even though the cover is definitely horror, but as I flip through it, okay, but this looks like it's more, could easily be just like a crime comic with just a horror tinge to it, or a supernatural tinge to it. That's what it was looking like to me in the artwork, and then the expressions of the character. Like you said, no, the characterizations are like spot on. So actually, this was one of the books that I was saving to the last. I didn't get to all of the books, and this was the one that I was happened to be reading when I realized, oh my God, I got to log on. But I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the book a great deal. It was fun. It also, because of the art, looked like a book that, me, JD hates this, that I'm going to look at and say, you know what? I'm going to love this first issue. I'm going to read it for the show. And then I'm not going to read anymore, because I think I would buy this as a trade. This looks really, really tight. But I have a question for Noel, because when you say you don't want this to go, you want this to just be a finite story, right? How is that, something like that, different than your enjoyment of, say, anything that Marvel or DC is doing, Thor or Avengers or Iron Man, which are continually renewing themselves and just going on and are not complete stories? Why do you want a complete story of this? Why can't this be an ongoing?
I think it boils down to kind of the genre and which ones lend better to others. So like super heroics and four color panel type of stuff, that's like a soap opera. It lends itself to perpetual second act. There are jumping on and jumping off points, but it is an indelible like kind of story, kind of told over and over again with different tropes. With horror, and also too, baked into that cake is the fact that the stakes are constantly being re-upped, as in there are none. Like it's just a reboot away or a death and a return. With horror, the stakes have to matter, and it just has to be high emotion and high impact. And I feel like you can't do that successfully over a long period of time, because then you start to dull the effect it might have on the audience in reactions, right? And that doesn't even have to be like nasty murders every 2 seconds. It's just when you're following this like finite story, it has to have some sort of climax, or the journey just gets dulled over time. Like horror stories have to come in quick, make an impact, jump out, and then maybe get back to them like sequels. But like, a 4.5 hour horror it just slowly dulls, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. And Christopher agrees with you. Amen to that, Noel. Gideon Falls is ending in December, 28 issues, which is perfectly fine. I like a good, concise story. Anything past 60 issues is too much. I get bored and forget what happens. Outcast is a prime example. It's the mystery of it. Superheroes are monster of the week, whereas mysteries need a tight plot with no filler. But you also have to nail the ending, he says.
Yeah, horror is really hard, especially for me. I don't really like horror comics either. Like, it's very hard to for me at least, it's very hard to mimic the emotional resonance of a horror movie or book versus a comic, or actually a horror movie versus a comic and a book. It's just, that part of my brain is not as doesn't fire as much when it comes to suspense and inciting, heart-stopping moments, where other mediums do. Like even music just has a way of like propelling me more than a page turn. So I don't really fall for much horror in comics. It's not something that I really like. But if I like the characters and I like that the story is finite and has like it's going somewhere specific, I'm in. That was Walking Dead. I was in for about 100 issues, and then I petered out when I realized, oh shit, this is not actually going to go anywhere. Like, we're just repeating the same story over and over again. So I'm just going to drop out. Like that, I don't really care for.
Okay, all right. I just read a book like this, and I could see it being something like you said, a finite story, but I could also see it growing into something like Stray Bullets, which was a crime book, to be fair, but it was an ongoing book that just took place in this universe. So there were different stories, from all around the universe that maybe tangentially touched on one another.
I would be
and
super down for that. I would be super
Yeah.
down for that. If this characters that we were introduced to here, if we follow them to completion as a climax, however, there's still stories to tell in the town of Stillwater or the mysteries of it, cool. As long as there's some sort of climax with the inciting incident that was introduced here in a reasonable amount of time, I feel like the stakes are real,
Gotcha. Oh, that artwork is so good, man. It's so
Yeah.
evocative, so immersive. Just puts you immediately into the world, man. The
It's
writing
got
is
motion
spot on.
to it. It doesn't feel too static. It's
Yeah.
kinetic.
Yeah, just some
Yeah,
good
it's
stuff,
great.
man.
He's so good.
Yeah. So I would recommend you guys go out and check out Stillwater #1 by Chip Zdarsky and Ramon Perez. Let's
That's-
move on to
Stillwater. Isn't that is that Boom Studios?
No,
Image.
it's Image.
Oh, it's Image. That's right. It's Image.
Got-
It's Skybound. Right.
For my money, this is just as fun and good as it's just as good as Something is Killing the Children. I had just as much of a fun experience reading this as that. And so I think people need to pick this up and jump on it. It's better than Nail Biter
Mm-hmm.
for me.
yeah,
I
agree.
this
Oh,
was,
definitely.
this was really good. I'm surprised it's not as talked about, I guess. This came out of nowhere. People need to jump on it. It was really, really good.
Talk about it and buy it from me. I'll mail it to you. Let's see. Number 2, Seven Secrets #2 from Tom Taylor with art and cover by Danielle DeNicolo. After a deadly attack on the Order, their youngest member, Casper, must step forward to keep the world safe from the 7 secrets with the power to destroy it. But surviving the trials doesn't mean just becoming the next holder of the great secret. It also carries dangers that will change Casper's life in unimaginable ways. So we had read the first issue of 7 Secrets, and I was expecting something a little different because of Tom Taylor and his writing style up until this point. And I can't say I was immediately enthralled by the story, but I was willing to give it another issue because of Tom Taylor's name. If this was another writer, I may have just been like, I'm good. But because it's Tom Taylor, I went, we'll give it another shot. And I'm glad I did. I think the second issue should have been part of the first issue because it actually gives the reader, or at least me,
Right.
some sort of emotional connection to these characters that I didn't really have previously. And it's something that I need in order to continue reading a series. So the fact that we get to meet Casper in this issue and spend some time with him, and then also see a little bit of the interactions between him and his parents, who he's not allowed to have too much interaction with, I think really sets up the drama and the stakes. And I'm more curious about this world that they're building. And I think this is a much better second issue than maybe it was a first issue. What did you think, Len?
I love this book. It felt like again, it was so many times I found myself calling these books feeling like an anime come to life on the page, and that's what this did. Especially with the art style and the character, the page layouts, which took you really moved, and it's had a lot of fluidity to it. I love the artwork. Danielle DiNiculio. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope that I am.
I choose to believe it too.
Uh,
I think it's a he, right? Yeah,
Is it
I
a
believe
he?
it's a he. Yeah, I believe it's a he.
Okay, well then he is doing some good stuff. It's a little like every good anime. It's a little hard to tell the women from the men, but that notwithstanding, I thought that the world building of this was kind of interesting about their secrets, and then there's the holders of the secrets. I thought was kind of cool. The way this story kind of tells the story of Casper from a young boy to I guess getting into like mid teenagers or young by 13, 14 years old or something by the end. It ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger that I'm not going to spoil. It has a, spy sense to it, but it's a little bit of the spiritual and supernatural. It's action. This pathos is building up for the long haul because I was just in it. I enjoyed it. It was a fun read.
Those 2 pages that you just showed are like blew me away. So like the page before that, it's you're seeing Caspar as a 9-year-old boy, what he's looking at and his like genuine excitement, and then the very next page is the flip of what he's seeing and how cool it is, like all of these amazing people doing ninja things, and it was just so incredibly effective. I'm not a big anime fan, but I totally understand what you guys mean. There's a style and a kineticism all over this book that's very much like a Euro Asian influence, and it's awesome. But I loved. I completely agree that this is a direct continuation and it strengthens the first issue. However, I actually liked the first issue, I think, a little bit more than you guys did. It was like a solid cold open where you meet these characters and you dig them, and then they die immediately, and you're like, where the fuck is this book going? And I loved that.
Yeah.
This just made me love that more. So like you've got these 2 people, keepers and holders, keepers of the secret and holders of the secret. There are 7 secrets. Each team is in charge of a secret, and they should never be around in the same place at the same time. And there's this like Secret Service academy of some sorts that is training future holders and seekers, or holders and keepers. Casper is the child of a holder and a keeper. They're not allowed to be in a relationship, let alone have a baby. They did, and the way to save the baby was for them to never raise it and for it to be raised in the order. So you've got this scenario where he knows who his parents are. He's met them. They cannot be affectionate or caring of each other or be in the same place for too long. However, because he's a member of the academy, they're allowed to train him. So You've got this amazing relationship dichotomy with his parents where he knows them and resents them, but he respects them and loves them. And they're able to instill things into him without instilling things into him. So like, his father teaches him how to fight in a very like sweet kind of way, but a teacher, and his mother teaches him how to shoot. Like, it's a way of the writer giving you lineage and legacy, but in an incredibly cold way because this world is kind of cold. And I loved it. I love every nuance of this book. I'm probably going to, when this is collected or however long it goes, I'm probably going to like give this to tons of people. This is awesome.
Yeah, I really liked how that particular decision, I think, was very important. The fact that the parents are there, they are alive, and they just have limited access to the kid, and they're aware of each other. All of those elements, I think, come together to make a more interesting story than, oh, he's being raised in this school, but his parents are dead. He's an orphan. Or he's being raised in this school, and he thinks his parents are dead, and he thinks he's an orphan. So like all of these little things come together, and that makes it a slightly more interesting story in my eyes, I think, because we've seen the other thing before. I've never seen this exact relationship sort of explored.
Yeah, I feel like in a lesser or more a less original story, it would be a long ongoing mystery as to who his parents are, right? And that's kind of boring. Like we know right off the bat. We also know that they're dead right off the bat, and we're going back and forward in time to show him. I love this book. I love this book.
Yeah, and I think that is, while it's not, his only trick that he plays, but it is something that Tom Taylor likes to do. It's like play with your expectations, Take something that you maybe have been trained to expect because you've seen it so many times before, and then find some way to turn it on its head and give you a different beat, a different reading of it, and that is the hallmark of somebody that loves the medium in which he is working, respects it, respects the past, and respects how the craft of it, but then is trying very hard to bring something new to it.
Yeah, dude. I if you've ever taken writing courses or story courses or narrative courses, everyone is so obsessed with breaking rules or getting to the point where you break rules, but you can't do that effectively unless you understand and love the rules.
Exactly.
So Tom Taylor is the kind of writer who's like, I know what people love and I know what works. And because I am so intimately familiar with how that functions, I can twist it over here.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you'll react as well to it because you understand the rules as well as I. Like it's a very, very competent and impressive thing that he does. And I love it.
I concur, Doctor. Yeah. Speaking of Doctor. Oh, I'm sorry, Doctor. Sorry, Doctor. So I watched the musical of Little Shop of Horrors, and it's just as fun now as it was, I don't know, fucking 40 years ago, however long that was. It's really cute.
86, 87.
My favorite is still, and I forgot that Bill Murray is in it. So I thought that my favorite part was the what's his name?
Martin.
Steve Martin dentist scene where he introduces himself.
Mm-hmm.
And turns out that's only my second favorite part. My first favorite part is the scene where Bill Murray is in the chair orgasming to the pain that Steve Martin is inflicting. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. It's comedy brilliance. The scene where Steve Martin is going through all of his instruments, his murder instruments that are really scary. And Bill Murray's just getting more and more like, oh, yeah. Like he does this thing where the light is right here and he's just so excited. He bashes it's so good. Anyway, let's move on.
Who originated that character in the original movie version?
Who did?
The Bill Murray character. Who played it in the original movie?
Oh, he did.
No,
who
no.
did?
Do you know who did?
No.
Jack Nicholson.
Oh, he's that character. See, I knew that Jack Nicholson was in Little Shop of Horrors. I thought I didn't know who he was in the
Seymour?
No.
I assumed he was like the main person.
Nah. He's that Bill Murray character.
Gotcha. That's funny. I'd like to see that. But first, let's move on to Iron Man #1 from Marvel Comics, written by Christopher Cantwell with art and cover by Keifu.
By covers by nobody.
Big Iron! ! Tony Stark is looking to restart his engine. He's decided he's going back to basics, putting away his high-tech toys and high-profile image so he can get his hands dirty again. It's time to dig into the guts of real machines, put on some old-fashioned metal, and fly. But can he really lay that Stark-sized ego down? Life isn't that simple. Something that old friends and frustrating foes are quick to point out. If you strip down a billionaire to his bolts, does he run solid or just overheat? Tony's going to find out once a threat to the entire universe rears its head from the past. As he suits up again, Tony remains sure of one thing. He's still Iron Man down to his flesh and blood core. Did anybody finish the Iron Man 2020 miniseries?
Nope. I didn't.
No. Okay.
No.
I didn't realize that was going to be the end of Dan Slott's run.
Maybe Dan Slott didn't either. I don't know. That got so little traction. I have no idea.
Nobody was talking about it. Yeah, no. What a bummer. But yeah, here we are. Christopher Cantwell. The reason I know that name is because I've recently discovered and fell in love with a 4-season TV show called Halt and Catch Fire about building computers in the 80s, which even just saying that out loud makes me a little sleepy. But boy, that show is just so good. The characterizations, the drama, the technology, the nostalgia, all of those things blended together to make a perfect tsunami of interest for me. And I really enjoyed all 4 seasons of that. So when I saw that Christopher Cantwell was going to be taking over Iron Man, I thought I'd give it a shot.
Okay.
And I thought this was really solid. I think that if you know Lee Pace from Halt and Catch Fire, you may have the same experience I had, where anytime Tony talked, I heard Lee Pace's voice from that show.
Okay.
And because he has a lot in common. This version of Tony Stark, who is doing sort of soul searching and trying to find out who he is at his core, that is a character arc that Lee Pace's character goes through in that show. He starts off as a real piece of crap, and then throughout the 4 seasons, he kind of reinvents himself several times, and he's trying to get down to the core of who he is. And as a viewer, incredibly interesting character arc. So I got a little bit of that here. It was nice to see Tony in a way that I hadn't really seen him before, and it was a nice surprise to see Hellcat show up.
Yeah.
And even she, calls him on his business and is like, listen, even this new humble version of you, that's still just your ego. And I was like, oh, snap, way to go. So what did you think of this, Noel?
Oh, I thought it was super enjoyable. Like, I loved I'll just agree with you for the most part. I loved the characterization of Tony. I loved his COVID hair. I loved the and it's a really almost overplayed story device these days, but I did love his Twitter feed.
I forgot. That was great.
Device. Like it's a sycophant. It's a very self-centered human being doing his best to not be self-centered, but he's doing it in a self-centered way because that's all he knows how to be is self-centered. So it's enjoyable in kind of how detached it is. Like his intentions are earnest, but he has absolutely no like skills in regards to it. So it's very enjoyable to read. I didn't care about the fact that there's, even though he's showing a wonderful panel by Kafu, the art in this book and the coloring is just 10,000% amazing. But I didn't care that there was really no action in the second half of the book. It was just enjoyable reading these characters. And Hellcat was spectacular. I immediately shipped the two of them. I don't see Patsy Walker enough. This is awesome. This was great. This was really fun. Yeah. Even the way in which he goes to buy a new car was enjoyable. Like I love this. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved every part of it. It's funny. I didn't watch *Halt and Catch Fire*. I've heard great things about that show. So when you're reading the book, JD, you've got that in your ear. When I'm reading the book, I'm actually reading like, okay, how many stories, especially in the last 10 years, have been on the DC side, have been a deconstruction of Bruce Wayne. And like, I felt like this was like, you know what? This is really a deconstruction of a rich dude. Like if they're trying to do at least a little something different, at least something different that I hadn't seen in Iron Man for a long time. And I was hearing like, oh, this would be a cool little Bruce Wayne story. That's what I was reading. I was really enjoying it. Brandon Jackson Short says that the Janet Wasp breakup was a bit weird.
The relationship was weird. So.
I think it was weird for them to be together as well, but I thought the breakup was actually very cool because you have to imagine how well these two know each other. They are not going to BS one another. They don't have to go through the like, yeah, well, it was great while it lasted. It's like, no, you know what? I think we're good. I think we're done. She's like, you're right. Peace, one love. I'm going to be there for you. Exactly. So I actually liked that. That was very mature and adult. I dug it. I'm like, yo, that's the way it should be. Oh God, let's put this on a poster. Make this a book out there for couples. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, man.
I will say I was just going to say the closest that they've come to deconstructing Tony Stark, I guess, was the Fraction run where they did it along the lines of kind of like a Flowers for Algernon, where he was losing his intelligence, not trying to dismantle his ego. So it's in a way it's kind of like that, like a Iron Man disassembled, but it's more personal, it's more emotional. I mean, that was an emotional story, and it's great if no one's ever read it. But this is different enough, even though it's kind of tropey, and I like that a lot.
Yeah. The only thing I'm sorry, real quick, JD. The only one thing, and this is a extremely small nitpick. One, I second what you said. No, I love seeing Patsy Walker and Hellcat show back up on here. She's one of those lost treasures of Marvel, so I like to see when she shows up. But the one little small nitpick is that when he does don his armor again, because you see him in the armor in the beginning, but he doesn't really put on the armor again towards the end of the book. And I think, if I'm reading it correctly, we're meant to see this as like a very old armor of his, right? And I think it is, but I would have liked for that old armor to have maybe a slightly even more aged look to it as far as technology. It still looked kind of new, so it didn't take me back into the way back machine so as much as Hellcat says, like, oh, you feeling nostalgic or something like that. And that's a very, 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 very tiny nitpick.
I hear what you're saying. I'm glad it didn't do that, though. What it reminds me of is I was in either a Best Buy or a Target recently, and they had a 1980s boombox. It was a whole boombox. Kids, ask your grandparents what a boombox is. And it played digitally. There was no reason for any of it. It was just, all it was nostalgia, and everything was updated technology. And it was just dumb as hell. Kind of wanted to buy it. I didn't. But
wait, did it have a functioning tape deck? That's all that matters.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't look into it. But like, that reminds me of that. It's just like, oh, we're going for a sort of a retro vibe, but I'm not going to sort of downgrade at all.
Yeah, this was to me. It wasn't an older suit. It was a homage to an older suit. It was a more just a classic modern kind of thing. Yeah, like this wasn't him dusting off something. He made something that's closer to that to get back to his basics.
Yeah,
gotcha. Nothing nano, having to actually put it on, but it's still modern.
I have a question about his AI that he talks to in his suit. So
Boss?
At one point it was like a Jarvis, and then more recently it was like Friday.
Yeah.
And then he was an AI for Riri at one point, but I don't know who Boss is. Has Boss been around for a while?
Not to my knowledge.
It seems less AI and more automated, if that makes more sense, like an automated program versus an actual AI. And I think that probably has something to do with Iron Man 2020. The whole conceit of that book seemed to be artificial intelligence and what that means with regard to humanity and existence and the philosophy of what is a being, right? So the fact that now it's sort of, they do this thing with the text where it's like, when you can hear you're on a phone and you're talking to an automated service and it's like, hello, Douglas is not available right now. You know what I mean? They do that sort of like input information here. And they do that in the text, and I thought that was kind of fun. But do anyone know who Boss is?
No, I think it's just the current program. I don't think so. Like the thing with Jarvis and Friday is that they were inspired by people in his life. Yeah. I think I got the impression that this is just like an AI 1.0. Just like you said, almost just like a Siri, a high functioning Siri. Because they don't explain it and they don't tell you what the acronym BOSS is. Right. It's just he calls it Boss. So I'm assuming, like, if it's not something that was introduced in Dan Slott's run, which I doubt it was, he'll probably get into what it is or he'll talk about it at some point.
Yeah, this feels like I don't want to say a hard reboot, but it kind of is with regard to the character, and it's a great jumping on point. I actually might stick around for a little bit this time.
Yeah, I actually might read more than an issue.
Yeah. That's usually how it goes with Iron Man. Is I get excited by the movies and I go, oh, what a fun character, and then I read the comics and I go, all right, well, what's Spider-Man doing? What's he up to?
I feel like a book like this is, first of all, knock on wood, a book like this it's a flagship character, so you're gonna at least get an arc or two out of it before it changes hands again. I loved this art so much. I would almost rather just wait till it's collected in a larger format than take it every week. But I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, same. Ditto.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Giant Size X-Men Storm #1 by Jonathan Hickman with art and cover by Russell Dauterman. In Giant Sized X-Men, Jean Grey and Emma Frost, Hickman and Dauterman took Jean and Emma into Storm's mind to learn what had happened to her. Now, they take the X-Men's resident goddess to the far end of the world to save herself. So, I am super disappointed in myself for forgetting to read this issue. I was so looking forward to it, and I definitely wanted to talk to Len about it because in the previously mentioned Jean Grey and Emma Frost one-shot, Len was of the mind that Storm got a little bit of the shaft, story-wise and character-wise.
Yeah.
And I was curious to see if this issue was going to fix that. And I was really curious to see how this was going to turn out. And I completely forgot to even read it. So someone take it away, Len.
Yeah, the previously on X-Men Storm, Jean Grey and Emma Frost took a stroll through her head to find out about this virus that had taken her over, and now we almost pick up like right after they're telling her about it, and they're trying to figure out exactly what can be done with this. Now, of course, in the X-Men universe now, it's like, why you have to worry about being dead? Because you can just be resurrected. But Storm doesn't want to go that route, because to Storm, the life is only worth living if you're fighting to live on. So she wants to live on, not just give in and hit a reboot. But she's offered an opportunity to find a reboot by and I just drew a blank on the character's name with all the spikes. It's not Magneto. What's her name? No. Keep turning the page. She comes up. She comes up right there.
Monet.
Monet. That's right. I knew it was an M. Monet says that she has figured out a way. She's figured out how to save her, and basically, she gets a team of X-Men to break into this complex that I think AIM has created, where there's a machine that can extract the virus from Storm, and they need Phantom X, or however you say Phantom X, or however you say that guy's
Phantom
name.
X.
There you go,
Yeah,
Phantom
right.
X, to help them, and Monet gets Doug/Warlock to help her. Why? I don't know. It doesn't seem. I don't necessarily see why he needs to be on the team to do this. But they at the end of the day, they figure out a way to extract this virus from Storm. It's a big bloated issue that I don't think has to be as bloated as it is. The art is reasonably pretty, even though I don't necessarily think that it sells the action very well. I see what Dauterman is trying to do with Storm by giving her slightly African features and the flatter face like you might find in some African people. I see what he's trying to do there, but at the end of the day, it just didn't really connect with me. I believe I read somewhere in the solicitation for this book that this is going to be like a kind of bit of a game changer for Storm. It is not a game changer for Storm at all. It is basically just part 2 of that story. She doesn't really have a whole lot of agency in this story at all either. So at the end of the day, as pretty as the colors are, as loosely interesting as it is to see Warlock again, I was always a big fan from Warlock from way back when I used to read X-Men, and it's nice to see kind of like Storm kind of be the center of a story. At the end of the day, this was 36 pages of meh for me. And I felt that, again, it showed that they still don't know quite what to do with this character. It does not stick the landing at all.
No.
So I liked it a little bit more than you. Um, it was more than just a second issue. It was actually like a third or a fourth, because these other than the Magneto giant size, these giant sizes have all kind of in their own way led up to this. So that first one of Jean Grey and Emma Frost, where they were the central characters and found out about this organic virus inside of her, which she got from the Tomorrow Children.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a separate story about Phantomex and him visiting his twin brother in the world every 10 or 15 years.
Right.
Breaking into it as it transforms and disappears. And that's where kind of this other whole facet of the story originates from, that seemed unconnected, is connected now with Monet knowing that inside the world is something or an AI that could actually pull this out of her.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the game-changing parts were it did pull it out of her. She makes very specific mention that she feels at full capacity, but then shows that she's fucking wrecks everything. So I feel like it's a power up or a secondary mutation for her that's going to be revealed.
Huh.
But then also the virus that's extracted from her immediately in the world, because inside the world everything kind of evolves at a much faster pace than what's happening on the outside of the world. This virus immediately becomes sentient on its own inside of a bubble and starts talking to Doug.
Right.
So I think this is a bit of a pivotal issue when it comes to all those Tomorrow Children and inside the world and all that old Grant Morrison-y stuff. And I do think that this is potentially a power change for her, like in a really cool and good way.
See, I don't see it as a power change, because while she does say that she I feel like I'm at full capacity, to me, if anything, that may be just a commentary on that they've been giving her short rift all along, and now she's back to where she was. I don't think it's a level up. I think the one thing I will say is that she says I'm restored. She says I'm a goddess. And when the character of Storm was first introduced, she did carry that air about her, because the people where she lived and raised saw her as a goddess. So it sounds like maybe it's a return to form power wise there, because ever since then she's basically just been, a weather wizard, more or less, so I don't see it as a level up. I see it maybe as a return to where she was before. And I guess
like a restoration.
Right. And I guess maybe in reading that is good, if that is actually what happened, and that is somebody paying attention to where that character should be power wise and respect wise within the Marvel universe, and doing something to get her right in a story that gets her back there. So I guess in thinking that through, all right, I'll give it a big ups for that. There's a part of me that didn't like that it's called Giant Size X-Men Storm, and she still is not that big a part in the story.
You're totally right. Like the way that this whole, I'm going to call it like a series, all of these giant size issues, the way that it's kind of rolled out is it's central to Storm, but she's not the central character.
Yeah.
Like it's all like the entirety of all the stakes that are raised are based off of how important she is. Mm-hmm. However, the story itself isn't about her importance. It's like they're telling me instead of showing me that she's this regal character, which I contend is an issue. But I liked where it all ended up. I liked where they this could potentially be the primer for her being like they had to do all of this kind of arranging the
house
table.
Cleaning.
Yeah. And then also too, where everything is left with the other stuff in the story, where the world's like Phantomex and that AIM guy who I kind of dug.
I kind of dug him too. I'll give you that. Yeah.
Decided to stay in the world. So that's going to come back. That's going to come back later. And Warlock feeling comfortable coming, like, cause he was latched on to Doug, who I forget his name, his actual like
Warlock
name. No,
his name. It's there in the beginning. Hold on.
Like I keep calling him Doug because that's what like him and Krakoa talking. He's Cypher.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. him and like I like the idea of, so like he was on Cypher the whole time and like hiding, but I like the idea that he's like he's essentially a symbiote now.
Yeah.
On Cypher, which I think is really, really cool considering they're very different people. I like if this was just an exercise in rearranging the table and clearing the board, it was successful. If you came at this wanting it to be a Crackerjack Storm story, yeah, I'd be disappointed too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If this was giant size X-Men or just an issue of X-Men, I still will be complaining like, y'all don't know what y'all doing with Storm. But it's giant size X-Men. It's fine. But because it's giant size X-Men, like to me, the giant size X-Men Storm #1 should be the issue after this, where you see, okay, where did all this leave Storm?
Where it establishes her new status quo, whatever. It's supposed to be just a story about her as opposed to like it's basic storytelling, right? Like if you want somebody to be this important, you show me how they're important. Don't just keep telling me they're important, right? So this is, and that measure, it doesn't work. Yeah. But I still enjoyed it. Like all the X-Men stuff this week that I read. Sorry. X-Men 12 and this. I enjoyed them. I like Hickman's almost weird detached approach to these characters because there are so many, and it's, I don't know, it just kind of works like a really fascinating scientific article as opposed to an emotional soap opera. Like he has this really weird detached way of approaching these characters. It's not a careless way. It's just kind of like emotionally detached. Like this is what happened and there's no fluff. It's really, I'm starting to really gel with it and I like it a lot. It's weird. Yeah.
It's weird. But I mean, hey, who am I to say? A lot of people are loving it. And there are aspects of what Hickman is doing with X-Men that I do enjoy. So I would be, inclined to stick with it. But that's just the pit that I nicked, or nick that I pit, or
my microphone's falling over. Sorry, guys.
It's not a fan of Hickman's work.
Let's move on to Thor #7. So written by Donnie Cates. I almost said Danny Coates. Donnie Cates with art by Aaron Cooter and a cover by Olivier Coipel. Something is wrong with Mjolnir. And this is a poor time for the All-Father of Asgard to lose his primary weapon. The Golden City is in chaos after Galactus' ill-timed visit, but there are some new threats on the horizon. Thor needs his hammer now more than ever, and yet the Uru grows heavier with every passing day. What will it take for the God of Thunder to hang on to one of the most powerful weapons in the multiverse? I don't know. I guess they'll tell us eventually.
I will say I did not read this book. This is the one book that I did not get to. So I did not read it. I looked through it. It looked cool. I saw there was in flipping through it, there was a panel where, if I remember correctly, like a phone number is on Mjolnir or something like that. I was like, what? I was like, that's why I saved it to the end. I said, all right, I got to save this to the end. I don't know what the hell is happening on this joint.
It's cool. A callback. It's a callback. Tony Stark did that to the hammer. So the hammer was somewhere, and Tony took a Sharpie and wrote on it like, "Call me, you dummy," or something like that. And when he got it back, so like this was a fair play where he literally like engraved Tony Stark's personal phone number on Mjolnir. So he essentially doxed him. He doxed him via Mjolnir.
That's amazing.
Across dimensions.
So what we have, I don't know if you guys remember the JMS run on Thor. Basically, the hammer fell to Broxton, Oklahoma. And for a while there, the Asgardians all lived in Broxton, and Broxton was a very big part of the Marvel Universe with regard to, the Asgardians and the Thor mythos and all that sort of stuff. So now we are returning to Broxton. There is a guy fixing his car. And of course, down plummets from the heavens Mjolnir, creating a giant crater yet again in Broxton. And all of the people are, they've gone back to check out the hammer again. And basically, the guy goes and looks at the hammer, dials a phone number, and gets Tony Stark. At which point, Tony Stark goes, This is a very private phone number. How did you get this? And then you see on Mjolnir, call Tony Stark and then his phone number. So that was a really good gag. I thought that was really funny. And Thor, throughout this run, the 6 issues by Donny Cates, has been feeling Mjolnir just getting heavier and heavier. And he wasn't sure if it was just the weight of the crown, if he was feeling like maybe he was becoming unworthy again. All of these questions he was asking himself. And so he's trying to get to the bottom of it. And I guess the final cliffhanger is that someone else gets to pick it up.
Well, I think it's that everyone is going to be able to pick it up. So like the general conceit is that something has happened to where the enchantment, whoever is worthy, possesses the powers of Thor. Something about the enchantment has kind of reversed itself. That's Thor is not that he's unworthy anymore. It's heavier for him and lighter for everyone else. Mm-hmm. Which Donny Cates seeded at, I think, the first issue because Loki was able to pick it up. And he was like, oh, weird. Okay. Yeah. And then put it down. But this idea that, we meet this mechanic, Adam, I think it is.
Yep.
And he's just a good dude. He's an ex-con that's kept himself clean for the last 20 years, works on cars, doesn't charge his clients that can't afford it. He's just chilling, right? He goes to touch the hammer, picks it up, and boom, he's Thor.
Yeah.
So it's this weird, and it doesn't diminish the power of Odin's son. It's just like, all right, so it's not special anymore. So, or something about this is less special, and someone else can do it. What does that mean? And I love how this is all of this happening is framed around a conversation between Thor and Beta Ray Bill. Because in the last arc, Thor beat the absolute shit out of Bill and smashed Stormbringer, his hammer. So it's this kind of like, my bad, dude. But can you tell me about Thanos? Is he really dead? And then he introduces the idea that the Mjolnir, there's something wrong. This is awesome. This whole issue is awesome. It create. He's calling. It introduced a new arc. Yeah.
Hold on a second. 212-970-4133. Call speaker.
Hi. Yes, this is Iron Man. However, due to some big blonde jerk, I no longer use this number. But hey, nice try anyway. For all things Tony Stark, please visit www.tonystarkironman.com and try and stay safe out there, yeah? I'm busy enough as it is.
Nice.
Love it.
Nice.
Yeah. Well done.
That's amazing.
Well done.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was just so excited.
No, that was awesome. That's awesome.
Literally anytime I see a URL on a TV show or in a comic book or a Twitter account, like, you know how earlier we were talking about how people were tweeting to Iron Man. They do that in a lot of comics these days. And anytime I see a Twitter account, I wonder if that's a real Twitter account, if they're like doing a fake in-world Twitter account for that character. And it always tickles me when they do stuff like that. Continue, Noel. I apologize.
Oh no, this was a really good transition issue. Like it's still a lot of times when it comes to like arc to arc, they'll forget about something for a couple issues to like build suspense, which I think it's kind of bullshit. The characters are well, I mean, it's like a fabricated way of creating anticipation as opposed to like these characters are still dealing with X, Y, and Z. So it's cleaning up or dealing with the other revelations while introducing a new thing and like how they're intrinsically connected. It's just smart story. It's cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah. This series has been great. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, and I love. There's a genuine confidence to Thor where he's just like, yeah, I want to see if somebody else is able to pick it up. So I'm just going to invite it. Like he invites this to happen.
Yeah.
For random person to be able to gain the powers of Thor, which I think is cool.
Another nice little tidbit, I think, was he's talking to Sif, his buddy, and he sends a black raven, which through some mysticism transfers his voice like a speaker out of the beak of the bird. And she's like, they've got cell phones, right? And he's like, I like the birds better. It's a nice little touch.
Yeah, he's an old guy.
Yeah.
Like Donny Cates writes him not like almost just, I think probably around our age. We're like, yeah, we get technology, but sometimes we just like to do it this way. So relax. Yeah, I like that.
Ditto. This series has been great. I'm very excited to be reading it. Let's move on to what book? I don't know. What's on the list? I'll tell you. It's Captain America number 23, written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, with art by Bob Quinn and a cover by Alex Ross. All Die Young continues. A restoration, a resurrection, a bit of redemption, and the return of Cap's number one foe.
That didn't happen.
America. That didn't, did it?
The number one foe part didn't happen.
I'm sorry. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Did my microphone?
No, we hear you.
We hear you.
Oh, Christopher Goodnight says the Allfather loses his most powerful weapon right as JD's microphone goes. Oh, because it bonked me in the. That's right.
It was falling. Yeah.
Loki picked it up that one time. It's a link to buy the issue. Oh, that's cool. The link that he mentions on the thing is a link to buy the issue. Noel, would you say it's a good 7th issue?
It's no, it's not it's a very good 7th issue. It's not a classic 7th issue. Those classic 7 issues are when they don't talk about what just happened and what's going to happen. They're just like in between fillers that focus on one character somewhere else, or they decide to play softball.
Classic 7.
That's a classic 7th.
This is freaking me out. Chris says, I love when they do that with phone numbers. I know both Gilmore Girls and Supernatural have used actual numbers in the show before. There was a number that I could call in the Gilmore Girls. I could have. Tell me more about this Gilmore Girls phone number.
You could probably
Google
it.
Listen, I'm doing a show.
Never stopped
you invite other people.
JD, I think you missed the penis joke, he says. I did. I definitely missed the penis joke. All right. Anyway, I'm sorry. Captain America. I haven't really been reading it. I know Noel has been loving the Ta-Nehisi Coates run on the Cap book. So, Noel, why don't you take it away, son?
I love this book. So I'll just start that. Like, there's all bias. I love this book. And I love it because it is the distillation of literally every style of Captain America over the years. So we've had Captain America deal with fascists. We've had, and not even just in this book, I'm talking about historically, deal with fascists, deal with wartime efforts, deal with magic, deal with body swapping, deal with man out of time, deal with patriotism. All of it is a distillation in here. Ta-Nehisi Coates has successfully, in 23 issues, he has successfully balanced all of the different styles of Captain America books. Like, there's some Grunwald in here. There's some Brubaker in here. There's even some Rick Remender stuff in here. Like, he gets Captain America. And then he takes all of that information and shoots it through a prism of current events, of current toxicities, of current issues. And shoots it through a prism of current events.
Sorry.
Of current.
Hey, at least it wasn't porn.
That's fair. I mean, you mean it wasn't? Anyway, he definitely manages being able to tell a rousing comic book story, but also it's much more thoughtful and wonderful as a whole. And I absolutely love this book. This issue specifically was it was slick. It was just really slick. Like, there's been a lot of things that have been going on between Magic and Sharon Carter losing half of her soul. There's this character, this I forget her name. This Magic character with the Red Marine, like her gem that essentially steals souls. Mm-hmm. In order to feed it, she kind of creates a cult of disenfranchised middle American white people
Right.
and lures
Impossible.
them in lures them in with these platitudes and promises that she understands their plights and the rest of the world doesn't, and gets them to kind of do things for her, and then she steals their souls. So you've got like them fighting this and all the stuff that goes on, and it all culminates with Sharon donning like the Iron Patriot armor and just going after the Selene character. And it was incredibly satisfying because Captain America, and for a lot of this book, at least since the like issue 12, Captain America has been part of an ensemble cast, not the star of this book, and it's so incredibly effective. They use him as almost like a blunt instrument in this book, not the absolute center, which is really it's really good. I love this book, and it ends with a nice restoration.
I like this page I'm looking at right now on the screen, where Sharon, Sharon is just hamming up. What's her name?
Selene.
Just punching her full force with a metal armor, and she's going, "Yes, Queen, yes!" Damn it, karma for cultural appropriation, and then something bad happens. But I thought that was pretty funny. Does Selene have? Is she able to take just full on punches to the face from a suit of armor?
So she's powered by the souls that she's stolen. So the more souls she has, the more powerful she is. So the whole fight here is a rope-a-dope where she allows Selene to just keep pummeling her, and then keep getting pummeled, so she loses strength and she could take her out.
Yeah, well, there's a really nice monologue in here where Sharon is talking about young athletes versus the older versions of those same athletes, and how they come out of the box and they're a very specific sort of fighter. What's his name? Fudge. Well, here it is. You see, young Michael Jordan could leap from the foul line. This was impressive. But old Michael Jordan could fade away from anywhere. That was unstoppable. Cassius Clay was young and had the fastest hands boxing had ever seen. But Ali had the wisdom and the toughness of his years, and he knew how to endure the flurry, how to rope-a-dope the opponent, outlast him until he punched himself out.
Yeah.
So that was a nice little tie-in. I like that.
The spoiler reveal at the end of this is, so Sharon Carter has been older for the last like 2 reboots of this book, because back in Remender's run, she was on Dimension Z for I think like 15 years. So she was aged up. And then Captain America, or then Steve was aged down. So they've had this kind of like
back and
forth. What's it called? The spring and autumn romance, or summer winter romance. Like she was an older woman and he was a younger man, even though he's technically 100 years older than her, which was really funny. But she's been older. This whole monologue leaned into the fact that when they win and she gets the piece of her soul that was missing back, she's de-aged. So she is back to original, in current continuity, aged Sharon Carter. But instead of it coming off as just a gimmick to make this woman sexier or something, it is the whole monologue is her espousing like the benefits of wisdom, of age, and she's going to miss. Like she literally says that she's going to miss the way her body feels now, because it's lived in, and there's a benefit to it and an understanding of it, and to start fresh is almost like going back to square one, as opposed to your lived experiences. And I've never read that before. Usually it's just like, I'm young again and I win. Like this was really cool. I liked it a lot. She says
the aches, the injuries, they were wisdom lessons etched into my body. I am trying to hold on to some of that, trying even now to find a reason to find meaning.
Yeah. It was a really cool juxtaposition. You've got like on the panel, you've got this older woman being rejuvenated to younger, maybe like 15, 20 years younger. Yeah. But the words themselves are almost a mourning of the person she was, which is really, really cool.
And also, it sounds like, this is issue 23. She's been this way for quite a while, even before that, I think. So it's not like it's unearned.
Yeah, well, so I've been reading the Remender run, and she just came back older, and that was, I think, 2014.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
So she's been older for, like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. All right. What's next? It is Detective Comics number 1027 by Peter J. Tomasi, and it's a bunch of people. It's a whole bunch of people. Brad Walker.
Whole lot of people.
Yeah.
It's
not in the notes, so I can't read it to you. I'm gonna bring it up. It's gonna be great. Just you wait. It's gonna happen. Oh, there it is. It's already up there. There it goes. Boom. Okay. Oh goodness.
So this is one of those anniversary that's not really an anniversary issues, because 1027 is the 1000th issue with Batman of Detective. So Detective Comics number 27 was the one that premiered or debuted Batman. Before that, it was just a crime book.
Yeah.
With no vigilante superhero.
Yeah.
Or hero. So even though we just celebrated about 2 years ago, just celebrated 1000th issue, we're here again with a 140-page giant jam book.
It's a 144-page mega spectacular. And it's brought to us by Peter J. Tomasi, Brad Walker, Brian Michael Bendis, David Marquez, Chip Zdarsky and Matt Fraction, Greg Rucka with Arturado Riso, James Tinian, Riley Rosmo, Kelly Sudaconic, JR, Dan Jurgens, Kevin Nowlin, Scott Snyder, Ivan Rice, Tom King, Walt Simonson, Grant Morrison, Chris Burnham, Marv Wolfman, Emanuela Lupacino. Diamond has this to say: light the bat signal because Detective Comics 1027 is here. In honor of Batman's first appearance, blah, blah, blah. This special book-sized celebration brings you the biggest names in comics, blah, blah. Batman Adventures Gotham City, blah. Who murdered Gotham's most corrupt police officer? What does the Joker's annual visit mean for Bruce Wayne? And most importantly, what Wayne Tech mystery will sow the seeds of the next epic Batman event? All this and more await you within the pages of the biggest Batman issue of them all. I like these books for the most part. I like when we get a bunch of top-tier creators talking about a top-tier character and doing things, little mini vignettes of things that may or may not have been explored at length in previous issues or previous runs. I think every creator gets to say a little something that they've wanted to say about this character. And generally, for the most part, I think you get a lot of really good, interesting takes on the character that we may not have seen up until this point. Did you guys have any favorites?
I did. There was, looking for it, the story by, surprisingly, Scott Snyder and Ivan Rice, which deals with, it's told from Commissioner Gordon's point of view of his dealings with Batman and basically the world that Batman envisions in his mind, and how Batman is always there when he needs him, and him thinking about Batman, standing amongst the Justice League, but still being there for Gotham City when he needs. I thought that was kind of cool. I thought that was one of the few stories that offered something different as far as a point of view on Batman. There was also, which was the story? Which is that John Romita, Kelly Dusaconic.
That one's good.
Dusaconic and John Romita's Thor. That was like a nice little tight little Bruce Wayne story right there. I love that. I love John Romita's art in there. It's been a long time since I've loved Romita Jr.'s art, so I appreciated that as well. There's a couple of other things that are kind of cool or interesting. I'm a little bummed that there are a couple of stories that are as good as they are that are lead-ins to something else. So I think that's kind of not fair to have that in this book. But as it were, they were still cool. Dan Jurgens' story with Kevin Nolan is good, if for no other reason, because I can look at Kevin Nolan draw the phone book. So that was dope. The GIF by Mariko Tamaki and Dan Mora is expertly done. You can definitely feel like that's going to lead into something else. But at the end of the day, and that Deadman story right there, that was kind of fun. That was a fun. That should almost be like in a stupid little like a DC. I don't know why, like a Halloween special or something like that. That's how much fun that was. There's some fun stuff in it. And so, it's cool. You know how I feel, all these anniversary issues. Batman has had like 8 anniversary issues in the last year. So I'm like, okay, how many more little bits of Batmanisms can we get? I mean, I still feel like they're kind of like going over the same story beats, the same treads, getting the whole Bat family together again in the Master Class story by Brian Michael Bendis. A cool little story, but we've kind of seen it before. Definitely classic Bendis. I'm still waiting for my Lois Lane special. I want my Lois Lane special.
Okay.
So
no, what did you think?
This was mostly strong. There was only, I think, 2 that came to mind as just not really enjoying them or thinking that they were weird. So I didn't. You're showing one of my favorites.
I did like that.
By Grant Morrison and Chris Burnham. Chris Burnham is one of my favorite artists that isn't featured that much in Big 2 books. Like, he does a lot of creator-owned stuff with Grant Morrison ever since Batman Incorporated. But I love his stuff. It's just so wonky and weird. Like, yeah, those are the creepiest looking villains.
Yeah,
super eyebrow striped man, and I don't know. He's a weird artist, and I love it. But the Odyssey, I think it was called, by Marv Wolfman, I did not like that story. I thought that was weird and boring. Like, it was like 30 pounds in a 5-pound bag, and it just was all over the place. It's the underwater one? Yeah, podcasting on the bottom of the ocean kind of thing.
Yeah.
I actually didn't make it through that one vignette.
I didn't like it.
I was like, I don't care about this. Skip.
And as much as I enjoyed the Brian Michael Bendis and Dave Marquez one, art was beautiful. All of the characters' voices were down pat. Their interplay with each other was awesome. But every time that they panned out and showed you where they were, they're all quipping next to a dead body.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, the tone of the book was so weird because they all kind of like the Bat family converges on a crime scene and there's a dead cop there, right? And then they start telling jokes with each other and digging at each other like family does, but and you start to fall for it, you start to get into it because it's just like, haha, that's how they would react with each other. But then they pan out and they remind you, oh, they're hovering over a dead body. And it just felt tonally weird.
Yeah, but you know what? That happens in almost like you go to Law and Order. Law and Order, classic Law and Order starts off with Jerry Orbach making a joke over a dead body at every single episode.
It's like a rule of 2, right? Though, so like when it's 1 to 2 people talking about each other and like, kind of volleying back and forth because they're either uncomfortable or it's normal, that's fine. But for some reason, it felt egregious because there were like 6 people there,
I got
all joking. It became like a joke fest.
Yeah.
Over a dead body. It's just like, this is weird. This is weirdish, right? But then also, I really did like the Greg Rucka and Eduardo Risso one.
I did like that one. I will say that.
It was the idea of a female person of color jumping through every single unreachable hoop to get into the GCPD.
JD, go back. Real quick, just on that story, go back to those 2 pages that when you read them are like it's animation 101 because you flip it and it's the same page, but it's the next panel, it's the next bit of each panel. Oh, it was great. It was
beautiful. Well, it shows the 2 experience. Like this whole thing is like about 2 experiences interlaid on top of each other. Her like the experience of becoming a police officer on the left, and on the right, her explicit experience in becoming a police officer, because it was so it was much more difficult. It was much more painful. and how it all kind of plays out. It was a way of telling. It was weird, and especially like I how can I not consider it today, right?
Right.
Telling a story about a good cop in the middle of a sea of shit was in this manner was very effective for me. Because
this was my favorite one.
People who we are as people and experiences is not necessarily what we do, but be like it goes a little bit along the ways of how easily it could be, how it could for somebody to be terrible, and the active choices to not be terrible. It was just I really 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 liked this book. This short story.
Yeah, I've when I'm telling people in my store recommendations for books that I like, even just as recently as this past week for book club that we do at my shop, or with my shop every Tuesday night at 8:00. The book we did last week was Black Magic, also by Greg Rucko, with art by Nicola Scott, and we were talking about sort of propaganda and all of the stories, TV shows, comics, and stuff that sort of elevate the police force to a certain level, and it's widely accepted. But through in the past 6 months of sort of like even higher tensions than usual, or at least higher visibility than usual, how these stories are going to change. And I was wondering if Greg Rucka, who writes cop dramas like Gotham Central, were to revisit those and restart them from scratch currently, would we have a different point of view, and would he be telling us a different story? And so I like that he actually did that here. I was having that exact conversation with a customer about Gotham Central and what Greg, because he wanted to get the omnibus, and he's like, but also I wonder, about the whole cop thing, and I wonder what would happen if it was written today. And I said, well, pick up Detective Comics 1027, because he does it there. It's the same exact writer.
Yeah. It's weird. Not all fiction involving police is propaganda. No. But a lot of the most popular stuff is. So when you look at something like Lethal Weapon, it's like they're praised for being terrible cops. Like they're deified because they murder everyone, they jump from they incite tons and tons of property damage, and they are incredibly terrible with witnesses. Like they're fucking vigilantes and they're awful at their jobs. But we in popular fiction not only support but worship that.
Yeah.
But just showing the processes of the job does not make it propaganda, does not propagate any kind of false pretense that this is a difficult, station in life, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like this, stuff like Gotham Central, they don't, if anything, the whole conceit is that they don't deify cops. They show you just how awful or how absolute power can corrupt. Absolutely, right? It's just I don't shy away from reading. Personally, I don't shy away from reading anything that involves cops. It's just, what story are you telling, and is it dangerous? Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I will give it up. I appreciate that this story also is a way of recognizing what came before Batman and Detective, because it was cop stories. You know what I mean? And this was, while Batman is there, very much a cop story. I actually did enjoy that story as well. I thank y'all for reminding me, because this was one of the first books I read, so I didn't immediately remember that one. So thank you.
It was 144 pages to remember.
It's a lot to remember. But yeah, that was really a good one. And it was good to see Eduardo Risso's art again with someone else. I reminded how much I do enjoy his artwork. So it was really fun to return to that. Also, it was fun you flipping through Walt Simonson. It was fun to see him back in comics as well.
That Tom King issue was great, or the Tom King story was great.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. Like there's some fun parts about it. It's fun. I'm not, it's a fun book. I think if you bought this book, a Batman fan bought this book, they would enjoy it. They find a lot to enjoy. They find things to look forward to. The whole generation story, like I mentioned, by Dan Jurgens and Kevin Nolan, it's kind of interesting. The art was interesting, and the what it seeds as to a certain Batman playing a part in another bigger story. I don't want to give it away exactly what Batman it is, but it sows the seeds for a little bit of a bigger story. That was kind of cool. And like I said, Kevin Nolan's art was fun. Oh, I love that pinup, that Lee Bermeo pinup.
Bermejo, yeah. Yeah, that's perfect.
I love that because that is like a scene right out of the old Batman 40s serial, only that he actually looks like he's in shape as opposed to a fat dude.
Can we talk a little bit about these anniversary issues, these giants? Because there have been a lot in the last like 2 years, ever since Detective and Action 1000.
Right.
These have been every other month. There's an 100, 140, 80 page giant, and it's just like about the characters. And I think personally that they are getting better, and it's kind of boring to talk about them now because they're just anthology series.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as they're going, I think DC's getting better at them because the earlier ones like Robin and even, you know, Detective 1000, there was a lot of filler. There was a shit ton of pinups, and as wonderful as pinups are, it's just like, okay, is this an extra? Like, is this worth the extra $50 or $3 for like 30 pinups? That's not what I'm looking for. These are getting stronger and stronger. Like, if you would have told me 2 years ago that I would thoroughly enjoy a Catwoman 80-page giant or a Joker one,
right?
These are they're just getting better. So as it's hard, like, would I recommend this? I mean, maybe. But it's really specific. Like, you gotta really, because it's not a quick read. Like, when these come out now, it's a habit to like, I'll read a couple of them and then I'll read the rest of my books. And then this is usually like, I finished this last night, whereas I read everything else on Thursday.
Yeah.
So they're meaty. It's hard in weekly books, right?
It is. And you're right. They are meaty. The stories are becoming more consequential. They feel like they like. Oh, all right. They got a little something to them, and they're a little bit longer. Like you said, there's just been so many Batman-centric ones that becomes the overkill. The truth of the matter is that this medium, the comic book medium, is going on about 100 years old. So it makes sense that here in the first quarter of the 21st century that you're going to have a lot of anniversaries that are coming around. The thing is that as good as they are, there are other anniversaries besides Batman and Superman. There are Captain Marvel anniversaries. I mean, as much as we champion Superman and Batman, there were heroes before them that are still around,
Completely agree. And they I think the format of these has changed over the last 2 years too, because they were doing, so it was issue 1000 and issue 1000 for Action and Detective.
Right.
And then it was Wonder Woman 750. And that was a $10 big book. Flash 750 was a big $10 book. And then the anniversaries started coming because they were characters that didn't have runs that long.
Right.
So you had Green Lantern 80,
the
Catwoman,
80?
Joker.
Oh, the Flash was 750.
Catwoman, Joker, Robin. But no Lois Lane. No Lois Lane at all.
No Lois Lane. No Alfred's 80.
However, I implore you, Mr. Trade Waiter, get the I think they solicited the Greg Rucka and Mike Perkins 12-issue maxi series Lois Lane that just ended. Get it. It's so good. Get it.
It is in my shopping cart along with Batman Universe.
Thank you very much.
And so I will be, getting them. I'll probably be coming down to the Hero Complex and have JD order it for me.
It starts with a little journalist story, and then it explodes to the fabric of the multiverse. Like, it is awesome. Awesome. The Lois Lane series.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
With Wait a minute, real quick. With all these anniversaries that have been happening on the DC side, it stands to reason that Marvel is going to have more anniversaries that they're going to have to start championing, right? Are there any that we are looking forward to, or that you would want to see championed in this same way? Like, I could see them easily doing like a Captain America one
in this format, like a prestige 100-page, 120-page thing.
Big anthology.
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna cheat and look at my shelf.
I can see Captain America is probably the only one. Captain America, Namor,
I got it.
And Human Torch are the ones that immediately come to mind, who their anniversary might be coming up soon, because they kind of like are around the same timeline as, you know.
Wasn't Spider-Man getting 50 years, right? In 2023?
23? I don't know. All I know is that they're doing.
He came out in 63.
They're doing an 850 special, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I would like to see? Like, I haven't done the math. I don't know if they're going to have anniversaries anytime soon, but I would love to see. You know what? I'll preamble this. I think that these two characters lean well towards little short stories by tons of different writers. I would love to see a giant anniversary jam issue or anthology of Punisher, because as a long, like, there's only so many stories long form to tell, but I think you can insert him in so many places for like little short awesome ones. And Wolverine, I would read because there's been so many different versions of the character. There's been so many, like, he's been alive for almost 200 years. Like, you could do a bunch of shit with Wolverine that I think would be really, really cool.
You know, I think would be good for a comic with a bunch of vignettes like that. Mystique.
Oh,
that would be cool. Yeah,
that would be really cool. Mystique would be a good one.
Yeah,
I like that.
So that is those are the week's books. We did it.
Yeah.
Hooah! So we could do the next part of the show, which we lovingly call Gutter Talk.
Gutter Talk!
Len, tell the people what Gutter Talk is.
Gutter Talk is when we talk about all the things that happen in the white spaces of the comic page, ladies and gentlemen. All that good gooey stuff that goes in and around the comic book universe, whether or not it be on the actual pages with the artists and the writers, or if it's with the characters that you enjoy as they are expressed in other media like television and movie and even song. That's what we talk about in these gutters.
Dope. So, DC Universe Infinite. DC Universe is being replaced with DC Infinite, a premium digital comics platform with single issues as well as original graphic novels, all of which will be uploaded 6 months after they hit store shelves. Subscribers will also have earlier access to new digital-first comics such as Deceased, Hope at World's End, Harley Quinn Black and White and Red, Injustice Year Zero, etc. There will also be DC Universe Infinite Originals.
Oh.
I'm learning this as I'm reading the notes, which will be comics exclusive to the service. It will cost $7.99 a month or $75 a year, which is $6.25 a month, in comparison to Marvel's Unlimited, Marvel's premium subscription service that costs $9.99 a month and $69 a year, for which is $5.75 a month. So so wait, it's cheaper per month, but more expensive per year?
No, DC is more expensive per year, but cheaper per month. Yes.
Did we lose Noel? We lost Noel.
We lost Noel, but we gained Brandon, who's muted.
Hey, Brandon. Hey, Brandon. Hey, Brandon. So, Len, what do you think about this? As a person who typically doesn't read single issues in your personal life, and you only do it for the show.
That's right.
Do you read? Right. Do you bother with Marvel Unlimited or anything like that? And are you going to be checking out the DC version of that?
Okay, here's the thing. This is, for me personally, this is not a big thing because I don't, as a whole, don't like digital comics. So it's not, it doesn't mean anything for me. However, I do know a ton of people who do enjoy reading comic books digitally, right? And for them, I think that this could be a very big thing because you'll have access to the DC comics, and let's face it, if you're a comic book, you love DC comics, this might be an easier way to get it than because they've changed up their whole way of getting the periodicals to your store. It's easy. It's a way to stay up to date on your new comics while also exploring DC's history in comic books. It's relatively inexpensive way to do this. It's a smart move, and to be honest, for the longest time on the DC Universe app, it has been the part of the app that has seen the most updates being made to it, because it does cost more to update with original, content as far as shows. All of those shows now moving over to Warner streaming service, which is HBO Max, which makes perfect sense. This makes sense. It's like Warner Media finally got people in charge who are like, okay, let's make sense of this. Like, yes, are we maybe following the footsteps of our competition? Sure. But they were doing it right. Let's just do it and try and do it better with our properties. It makes actually perfect sense for people. And there are a lot of people that are excited about it, and I'm excited for them. Go on.
No.
Can we answer some of Christopher St. Saucy Goodnight's questions? Because they're like they think they're pretty good topic wise.
Oh, hold on. I want to make sure that Brandon has joined us.
No.
So Noel, what are the questions that St. Saucy asked us?
So he mentioned, so if we subscribe, is it any books? Do you have to pay for each issue, or is it you subscribe and you can read whatever? So with these services, I presume, and it sounds like it's going to be exactly like Marvel Unlimited. With these services, it's like Netflix. You pay a monthly and or annual fee, and you're able to read whatever they decide to put on the service.
The app.
It is not a pay as you go, which is great, but you're also at the whims of whatever they want to put on their digital service to read it. You can't go in there and be like, I want to read this issue. Like you're at the service of them. And they've already decided that it's 6 months? 6 months, right? So like a book comes out on the no later than 6 months, no earlier than 6 months, it'll be on the app.
Right.
But they don't say that everything that sees publication is going to be on the app in 6 months. They're probably going to.
I'm sorry, there's been a bunch of stuff on the Marvel app. I have Marvel Unlimited just in case I want to like check up on an old issue or something. I generally don't use it very often, but if there's something like, I want to check out that issue, let me see if it's on the Marvel app. No, it's not. Okay, never mind.
Really?
Yeah, it costs a lot for them to digitize, like especially older books before digital readers were so prevalent.
Scanning
it's incredibly expensive to scan, but then also reformat for a reader what was already on the page. So like unless they draw it digitally, it's very difficult to like transfer the process. So people that sign up for these services thinking that like, holy shit, we're going to see all that out of print stuff and it's going to be great. Hold on. Like, don't get too excited. It's actually just going to be whatever they're able to do for you over the course of time. Like if you look at DC Universe now, they are still updating. They still update with like runs of things, but they do it in pieces and they do it like they're not opening the vault for you.
It feels very disorganized. Even when they're uploading chunks of books. Here's issues 1, 2, 3, 7, 9, 23, 40.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, wow. It's a cool idea, but I don't think it's, at least for now, if you're a completionist, if you want the whole thing, if you follow, it's not a 1-for-1 comparison to reading weekly or carte blanche, whether that's digital or in print. It's not a replacement of that. It's just like a supplement of that. It's maybe you still follow weekly and month by month, but you don't maybe get trades anymore and you just kind of have them digitally or you rent them digitally.
Samuel
weird.
David makes a good point. So it's not unlimited at all. It's very limited.
Limited access. Oh, I mean, then it's a little short of infinite then too, isn't it?
Yeah.
You
Brandon.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool.
Are you recording?
Yes. I just
Yes.
started. Yeah.
Hey!
So Brandon, hi, welcome to the show. This
Hi.
is Brandon. Yay, it's Brandon.
Yay, it's Brandon.
There he is.
I don't know what was going on before, but yeah.
What do you
Well, we're
think? of the
talking about
service?
DC Infinite.
No, I know that part. I mean, I don't know what was going on with my mic and everything.
Oh, that's okay.
I like the
Cool.
service. I'm particularly, I'm happy about it. I was the one who kept saying I wanted comics to stay on. I wanted DC Universe to keep going because I wanted the comics to keep going.
Right.
And like, this is why, is because now you guys have seen like what Marvel Unlimited offers and everything. And you can see why I would want that to also exist for DC. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, and we were just like before you had jumped on, we were just saying like it's cool as a service, but I personally don't think it is a one unless you're willing to just abandon current stories for a while. I don't think it's a one-for-one replacement yet of still following the books that you enjoy, because there's no guarantee that they will be on the service in 6 months, and they put whatever they want on the service in whatever time frame they want. So if you're following a book and they just don't put it on the app, they won't. Like,
I mean, I haven't seen that. I've seen I know older stuff they have trouble with, but like the newer issues, as soon as they come up, like within 6 months, they usually get uploaded. Like I was just checking to make sure, and like on Marvel Unlimited right now, like Ironworks 2020 #1 is on there, and that just came out like at the end of July. So like, it's the beginning of September, and so that's 6 months pretty much. So like it seems like newer issues, like if you're trying to keep up with newer issues that come out week to week, you're usually pretty good. It seems like it's the older stuff, like, I don't know, like stuff from the 60s and 70s and stuff. That seems like it's where it's a little iffier.
Right, and that's because they got to go in and digitize all of that stuff to be uploaded. So let me just make sure that I understand what you're saying, Brandon, and this is how I read it. So DC, and we're talking about the DC app going forward. So let's say the DC books that came out for September, right? All of whatever books they issued for September. In 6 months, those same new books should be available on the new DC Unlimited app. Correct?
They should, yes. Yeah.
Right.
all of them at once, or
From what I can tell, yeah, maybe like, if not the same day, it definitely within the same week. It seems like over the course of the week, they upload the issues.
And that was my understanding of it, and to me, that is a win-win for people. Now, to Noel's point, like if you don't want to stay up to date on these current stories, that might be a bit of a slog for you. But if you're someone like me who's already resigned to that, I'm waiting for the trade, so I'm waiting for the stories to be done anyway, then if I get into the schedule of the app that I'm reading these books on those schedules, then it's fine. I'm paying $6.99, and so if I'm 6 months behind on a story, hey, quiet as kept.
Yeah, like
If I stay away from a lot of the news, I can still be surprised by these books that are happening.
it's digital trade waiting is all it is.
Right.
Yeah. Like I know there's people on Reddit, like there's a Marvel subreddit and then there's a Marvel Unlimited one. And on the Marvel one, they discuss the comic. They have a discussion thread where people can discuss books week to week. And then on the Marvel Unlimited one, it's the same thing. It's just 6 months old. So people go there, and if they want to talk about books with people, they'll just be talking about books that are 6 months old. So it's a good way of like, it's pretty much like the books are coming out week to week for you. It's just your week to week is 6 months after everyone else's.
Yeah.
I'll be the old man, get off my lawn about it. Part of the joy of reading these comics is the immediacy of it and the conversation of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I necessarily like this. Doesn't feel like that big of an offering for me to forego the conversation and the immediacy and because it's soap opera. It's things happening in real time in a way that you're enjoying, that you're absorbing with a community, and then you're discussing it. I don't know if I want to do the back end 6 month later version of it personally.
Yeah, it's
So-
it's up.
So the value proposition is a little, it's just not enough for me personally.
Yeah, it's person to person, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. See, I guess I don't feel that because I find that more and more, and maybe this is because I wait for the trade, the conversations that I enjoy having with people are more about the business of the genre as opposed to the everyday, like, oh, what happened in Iron Man this week? Oh, Hellcat was back. You see when she gave him that digs? Like, no, I didn't read it. I'm reading it online, so I'll read it in 6 months. Call me in December.
I get to have both of those conversations though. So
Noel's flipping us off for the audience at home.
slowly.
Yes. Yes.
No, I completely agree with you. So like, I love that kind of shit too. Like talking about like the overarching trajectory of a character, the business of comic books, the art of the storytelling. In collected format, like I enjoy the shit out of that too. But it's a different muscle. It's a different of the weekly happenings and goings and stuff. Like yeah, no, I don't want to give up that for digital service that's delayed.
Now, Brandon, you were subscribing to DC Universe, were you not?
Yep.
Okay, so now with it turning to DC Infinite and all of its the shows that were there going to HBO Max, or how do you feel about that?
I don't mind because I still pick up my books from JD week to week. So I was still using DC Universe for older comics. So I'm still going to keep it for that. Like I wasn't even watching that, I would watch the shows when they came out, like the ones I liked, but there were like gaps in that. And I still kept DC Universe because I liked having the comics and stuff. Right. So now I'll still subscribe and still have those comics and everything. And also I already have HBO Max as well. So this doesn't really change anything for me. So I'm okay with it. Plus, there's going to be like digital first. So that'll be interesting. I doubt it'll be, that good if we're being honest, but I'll look at it. Yeah.
Some of the digital firsts have been pretty cool. So like the Swamp, the Mark Russell Swamp Thing series was really good. They're doing, they're getting like top talent to do Harley Quinn, Black, White, and Red. White,
I've
Black,
been reading
something
that.
like
that. Been good. Yeah.
Also to a lot of the Injustice books now are digital first, and Deceased books are digital first. Like they're at least trying to infuse new content into this model. Mm-hmm. The format bothers me usually, but apparently it's really, really good. I'm just waiting for it to get printed.
Yeah, when I say digital first, I specifically mean the DC Universe Infinite digital first. Those are the ones I'm not super.
I think they're going to be the same thing.
No, they said there's going to be. They said there's going to be originals that are specifically for DC Universe and digital. There's going to be the digital first that have been coming out, and then there's going to be specific ones that are just on DC Universe Infinite.
Wait, are they going to make people pay for the digital firsts that aren't like? If I was a member of DC Universe Infinite, if it's digital first, that shit should be mine also. I had this problem with their direct to video movies. They were like, it's going to be the home of all the direct to video movies and blah, 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 but it's going to be 4 months until you paid members can see it. Like, fuck.
Yeah, no, I think if you have DC Universe Infinite, then you'll get like DC's Hope at World's End. You'll get Injustice Year Zero. You'll get those
when it comes out.
I think so. Yeah, that's. I don't know yet. But that's what it sounds like.
I would fight. Like I would. That's like a deal breaker. If it's digital first, it should be on my paid service as a member.
Yeah.
Period. Not because I get like the physical market and the digital market having a space between them. But if it's a digital market and a digital premium market, fudge you.
Yeah,
no,
I didn't like that in movies at all. I agree. No, I didn't like that at all. That made no sense to me. Like the physical, it made sense. You're still trying to hold on to the old model, so you're going to give it like a little space between it.
Yeah.
But if it's digital first, then it should come to the app first. That's the reason why you are getting our monthly subscription.
I mean, so on the press thing, it says specifically subscribers will have earlier access to new digital first comics. So I assume that means you'll get them same day, maybe even earlier if you have the service. And you never have to pay. The whole thing is you don't pay for the comics, you're paying for the monthly subscription. And if it's like Marvel Unlimited, you won't have to pay extra for it. So, yeah.
Right on.
All right, we'll see.
But yeah, and then there'll be extra stuff too.
I learned my lesson to not adopt before it came out.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, I had a year of DC Universe that I just didn't use. So
that's what. Yeah, when everyone subscribed to that, I was like, but what if it's not good? That's why I did monthly, and then when I wasn't liking it, I stopped, and then
yeah, I just didn't re-up. We'll see. I mean, hopefully it's more cogent and put together than the original version of the service, because I mean, you galvanize your own audience when you have duplicative efforts. So the idea of we knew HBO Max was coming before DC Universe was launched. It's like, dude, it's the cross section of your audience is so ridiculously similar. Just make it this. Like, I don't know, like people buy into bespoke experiences, you know, like if it's just comics, if it's just content, if it's just social media, they don't usually double dip on things, or they usually balk at double dipping. So it's like, hold off 6 months, don't and just stick with HBO Max.
Well, like I said, I think Warner Media finally has some adults running the ship, so we'll see how it flies. They haven't announced. Speaking about the shows on DC Universe, so Swamp Thing is going to be on HBO Max. We know that, along with Harlequin. Stargirl is going to the CW. They haven't announced exactly what's going to happen with Titans season 3, and we were speculating before. Or Brandon, do you have an update on that?
Yeah, on DC Universe it says HBO Max will be home for premium video content. Blah blah blah. Originals like Young Justice seasons 1 through 4, Titan seasons 1 through 3, Doom Patrol seasons 1 through 3, and DC Stargirl season 1. Okay, so that's Titan season 3 included in that.
Yeah, so Stargirl is one of those, like, it's going to have first run on CW, but the streaming home is going to be
HBO Max.
HBO Max. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, so Titans is going to HBO Max.
Yep.
Cool. Not that I really cared. I would have been fine if they had put a bullet to Titans. To be honest,
Titans was great until that finale. Remember that finale? Remember Wonder Girl? Good times.
Titans was great until that trailer, the first trailer.
Remember that first trailer?
And and I'm not just a hater. I watched the entire first season.
I got better with season 2.
I watched both seasons. It's not bad, but I would have been fine with them putting a bullet to it.
And also to clarify, it's Swamp Thing canceled as is.
Yeah.
Like there's no new Swamp Thing yet that
they're
announced.
I've seen people think that's not happening.
Yeah, it's not new. Period. They're just rerunning the old stuff, and then they edited the show for CW Seed or some shit. Like, it's the same show.
Yeah. So, hey, congratulations, DC. You're doing something right.
Yeah, you backtracked. Congratulations.
But wasn't there a question that we were talking about in the chat before we turned on the mics and turned on the cameras? Wasn't there a question that we wanted to pose to JD in regards to how this impacted retail?
In general, I'm wondering what JD thinks about digital comics.
Well, let me put on my retailer hat. I hate it.
That's the show, everyone. We will see you later.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Cranky Retailer Says. I hate it.
But JD, as a person and a retailer, because you said you use Marvel Unlimited sometimes,
I try to use Marvel Unlimited, and I wind up disappointed, so I give up. And for the show, we read most of not all of us. Some of us read all of the books digitally for the show every week. Mm-hmm. So as a retailer, I don't like it. It's not my favorite. Digital comics are They don't tickle me. But sometimes it's really convenient to have them have as much as you want on your iPad or whatever your reading device is, and just have access to all of the books you want if you're going on a trip, or if you don't want to like lug your books around onto a bus or whatever, all that sort of stuff. I really like it for that sort of thing, but nothing has swayed me from wanting to read my paper.
Vinny, I have a question, because so a lot of people talk about, a lot of fans really want both of these services to just be like day and date. If you subscribe to the service, you get the comics. So people, the main reason that people assume the companies don't do that is that shops will obviously be upset and might even stop selling their books. Would that be something you would do? And is it something you could do? Because it seems like shops, especially with the coronavirus and stuff, I don't know that they have the ability to do that right now. Is that something you feel like you could do?
Do what specifically?
Stop selling DC books if DC releases.
Drop a publisher. A publisher because they decide to potentially galvanize your numbers. No, I don't think that's something you would do or can do.
No, because I still have customers who, I would say the 99% of my customers don't read their comics digitally. Right. Otherwise, they wouldn't be my customers, right?
Yeah,
so they come in and they have subscriptions, and they come and they pick up their paper books. Now, some of them do a thing where they like their collectors, so they like to buy the print version, but they will use the tab that's inside Marvel books for the free digital version. I don't know if DC still does that. They were doing it for a while,
really?
But I think they got rid of that.
I got a gripe. Part of me thinks that, or part of me believes that questions like that, or conversations like that, or will it eat this audience and do this and do this? I think they're false equivalencies. The habits of consumers are not necessarily galvanizing each other. Like if we're talking about, will this book mess with the sales of this other book? That makes sense. But we're talking about different mediums completely. And research has shown that while one grows, the other one also grows. They don't feed off of each other. They're not the same. The subsection of the audiences is what they like content-wise, not their habits as readers, physical or digital. So I do not think that the proliferation of digital comics will one for one eat away the sales of physical. I think that the lack of promoting physical will eat away at physical. It's the false narrative of one is replacing the other that will kind of beget it happening, not that they can't exist in the same space, because I do think that they can. We're fucking proof of that. The fact that we all do read physical and digital and don't hurt either one, support either one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially if you look at the sales of vinyl records this past year have gone up. Even though music is more readily available to every consumer than it has ever been in the entirety of the universe, people are still buying records.
I just wonder, though.
I'll be back.
I wonder why they do it then, Because, if they, they're companies, they want to make money. So if the reason isn't that they're worried about shops, then why don't they, just put it? I mean, I guess, they make money.
No, they are worried about shops. What I'm saying is that it's not a one or the other. It's a both. They're creating new offerings to get new audiences on board or rekindle old audiences that have disappeared, not to eat away at the audiences that currently exist and have practices. So when we have the conversation of, will it hurt this or that? I don't it could, but I don't think that that's the conversation that's worth or I think it's a false conversation to have, because they don't actively eat into each other. Do you know what I mean? Like they support each other, if anything. And I actually have to leave, but I think my final message is just always support something, right? Don't steal it.
There you go.
If you're like trade waiter up here, Len is a trade waiter. That's great. You do it though through your favorite local shops, your small businesses.
Yep.
Brandon, you're both, and you also you support both, and you have a pull list. So you support your local shop. I'm mainly a physical reader or a trade reader. and I support my local shop. I do like some digital firsts, and I'll pay for them as go. But that's just the kind of person I am. I don't think that digital has to disappear in order for physical to thrive. I think that it's just make sure you're always supporting your favorite model, and you'll keep getting books. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think the danger though is that as this medium has to grow and find more and more fans, I think the fans of tomorrow more and more are going to the digital, and that is where that's why you can't go day and date, because the 12-year-old who will soon be the 16-year-old who will soon be the 20-year-old and the 25-year-old with disposable income will just as soon as use that disposable income on something digital as opposed to going into the local comic book shop.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like the idea of marketplaces giving each other breathing space so the consumer can decide. 6-month wait, not a big deal. If it's super important to you to read the story, you seek elsewhere. If it's super important for you to abandon physical, you wait the 6 months. Like, that breathing space is great. And that's actually what made the weird move of DC to go to different distributors and do day and date with normal bookstores felt weird, because it was physical media versus physical media, galvanizing the small business owners who now have to compete 1-to-1 with Barnes and Noble and Amazon. Whereas before it was small direct market shops were getting the books at least a week to 2 weeks early.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave them breathing room, and it allowed both to profit potentially. Those that wanted it from their store could get it. Those that, had the ability to wait a month and get it through Amazon, they did that. Now it's direct competition, and I think that's shitty. Guys, I have to run.
What?
I love you.
Well, I mean, we have been doing this
Yeah,
for
this seems
2
like
hours.
a show to me.
Yeah.
Let's sign off. Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here because I got to eat.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to help the show, you can go to patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo. We also have a Venmo if you want to send us money, at JDsHeroComplex on Venmo. No, you're holding up an absolute carnage omnibus.
Yeah, we're going to review this week, you and me, JD.
Yeah, we are.
And book club. Don't forget about book club.
So I believe book club. So book club for the store happens every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Book club is every other Tuesday, and then movie club are the alternating Tuesdays. We do a Zoom meeting. The next movie is going to be called Four Lions, which is this Tuesday at 8 o'clock. The following Tuesday will be the book that Noel was just holding up called Basket Full of Heads, which is a OGN by
Joe Hill.
Joe Hill.
It's a very large name right there.
Stephen King's son. But for book club within the confines of the CultPop Podcast, we're going to be reviewing next Sunday at 10:30 a.m. the week's books. But then we're also going to be talking about
Eternals by Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr.
Yeah.
The original.
I got to read that book.
I started it last night, and it's funny. You mentioned it's nice seeing good John Romita Jr. This is good John Romita Jr.
Nice.
It's before everything was like hyper digital colored. It's actually really good.
Please like and subscribe and share if you like the YouTube, whatever we're doing here. Bye, Noel. If you like all this stuff, please share it. Please help us out. We're a fledgling little baby channel, so we could use all the help that we can get. I've got rid of Brandon. Len, where can people find you?
Hey, you can find me right here in my house in Philadelphia. Check me out. How you doing? There's a Primo's down the street. I'm about to go get me a sandwich because I'm.
Oh, that sounds good.
No, and you can also find me any place and every place that you find Black Tribbles, at Black Tribbles on all the social medias. Look us up on podcasts, wherever you find podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Help us get it. We are inching ever so close to 1,000 subscribers, so we'd love to have some more. And check us out every Monday where we review Lovecraft Country, and Thursdays with our radio show. And we got more and more fun things coming. We got a big event we're going to be announcing in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned. Holla at a Tribble.
Also, check out the Houston Chronicle, right?
Oh yes, the Houston Chronicle, where my other show, the Michaud Mission, we had a story that a spotlight on there as well. Thank you, Brandon. I was appreciate you.
As far as me, since JD just left, as far as me, I'm in the YouTube comments a lot. If anyone wants to comment there, I'll probably show up. So yeah, that's about it.
And JD,
Yes, what?
where can we? It's time for you to sign us off, my brother.
All right. I thought I already did all that stuff. You can follow me at JDsHeroComplex on Twitter. So we're going to be doing Thunder Rounds on the YouTube channel throughout the week. Also, I'm thinking of a new horror. I think it's called the Spooky Time Sleepover. I'm going to be doing that. I'm working on a new horror-based YouTube sub-channel thing. I guess that's it. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk at you later.
Da-da!